Inflation, the quietest yet most destructive force in the economy. Prices rise, salaries struggle to keep up, people complain, economists argue, politicians blame each other, and the ordinary person loses hope. But through history, in the same chaos, some people quietly became rich. And that was no accident, because inflation isn't an enemy. It's a mirror. It reflects who produces, who consumes, and who recognizes opportunity. The same storm that ruins one life becomes the wind behind another sail. This is the story of how the silent decay of money created wealth for a few. So tell me, how can you get rich while money loses value? The value of money is a belief. We trust a piece of paper, a number, a symbol, because behind it lies a promise. In ancient Rome under Julius Caesar, each denarius contained pure silver. But as the empire grew, so did its expenses, and soon emperors began to cheat the metal. Less silver, more coins, more money. At first no one noticed, the difference was invisible, but over time, the lie became obvious. The mighty Roman coin turned into a piece of copper. As money lost value, trust in the empire vanished. Inflation exploded. Merchants raised prices every day. Trade collapsed. Yet some thrived. Landowners, farmers, producers. They understood real value doesn't live in coins. It lives in things. Inflation punishes consumers, but it rewards those who own and those who create. It's 1923. Germany is broken, rebuilding after World War I. The government prints marks to pay its debts. At first no one cares. It sounds good. Stimulate the economy, they say. But each new bill makes the old ones worthless. Then one morning, a loaf of bread costs twice what it did yesterday, then 10 times, then 1,000. People push their wages through the streets in wheelbarrows. A man gets paid in the morning. By noon, his money buys half as much. Cash burns in stoves, because banknotes are cheaper than firewood. Yet the rich get richer. Those who owned factories, land, or stocks watched their wealth rise as paper burned. Inflation erased their debts. Loans vanished into thin air. Millions went poor, but a few stood at the center of one of the greatest wealth transfers in history. 1971. President Richard Nixon sits before the nation. For decades, every dollar was tied to gold. Then came war, deficits, and greed. America printed more money than it had gold to back it. So Nixon declared, from now on the dollar will no longer be convertible into gold. And just like that, money lost its anchor. It became numbers, backed not by gold, but by trust. Inflation soared, gas lines, rising rates, public anger. But some saw opportunity. Smart investors realized when money loses value, assets gain it. Real estate, stocks, gold, all began to soar. Warren Buffett said, inflation is the silent thief of capital, but also the patient investor's best friend. While the middle class drowned in debt, owners and builders climbed higher. Because inflation isn't punishment, it's transfer from money to assets. The true danger of inflation is not in numbers, but in human behavior. When prices rise, fear takes over. If I don't buy now, people think, it'll cost more tomorrow. That panic fuels more inflation. The same story repeats America in the 70s, Argentina in the 90s, Turkey in the 2000s. Everywhere, people cling to cash, believing it's safe, but it's not. Cash is the fastest dying asset during inflation. The rich play differently. They don't worship money, they use it. They buy land, businesses, brands, because they know When prices rise, true value doesn't disappear, it just changes hands. Inflation tests patience, panic loses, strategy wins, and opportunity always hides behind fear. Inflation looks chaotic, but it's really balance. When money loses value, debt loses weight. If you owe a fixed loan, each payment becomes easier. That's why in inflationary times, debt can be a tool. Real estate investors in the 1980s borrowed cheap money and watched inflation erase their debt. Landowners in the 2000s saw the same. Meanwhile, wage earners lost ground. Inflation is a silent transfer from the poor to the rich. Those who understand the game collect assets, always. Today, inflation is digital. After 2020, trillions were created with a single keystroke. But this time prices didn't rise at first. Assets did. Stocks hit record highs. Housing exploded. Tech valuations soared. People didn't feel inflation in their groceries. They felt it in the cost of ownership. Economists call it asset inflation. Inflation no longer hits just spending. It bends the scale of wealth itself. Now, gold isn't enough. You must invest in knowledge, innovation, and production. Because the future belongs not to those who have money, but to those who can create value. Inflation is an old story. Kings, emperors, presidents, all made the same mistake, thinking printing money could fix everything. But every note printed only deepened the problem. The real value was never in the paper. It was in knowledge and creation. Inflation is a storm. It destroys some and carries others forward. What defines your fate is not the storm. It's your direction. You can't stop money from losing value, but you can decide how to move with it. When money loses value, opportunities multiply. The only question is, who will see them? Maybe you.